Time to match your wits with Spokane County's best and brightest civics and history high school students. It's Civics Bowl 2024. We're back for our third season. 10 area high school teams will go head-to-head, but only one will bring home the trophy.
Civics Bowl is made possible by Eastern Washington University, the Avista Foundation, the League of Women Voters of the Spokane area and of Washington, and by viewers like you.
The teams are ready, and so are we. I'm your host and president and general manager of KSPS, Gary Stokes. This is match one, 4 rounds of tough questions, and a chance for you to see if you can compete with these students. Now here's a look at the tournament bracket. Today's match features Central Valley and Ridgeline. Let's meet each team now. Up first, Central Valley.
Hello, I'm JC.
Hi, I'm Abby.
Hi, I'm Lucy.
I'm Jackson.
And we want to also welcome Central Valley's alternate, Michael McCauley, and their coach, Rob Rowe. And now, Team Ridgeline.
Hi, I'm Justin.
Hi, I'm Parker.
Hey, I'm Lucas.
I'm Paige.
And in the audience, we have Ridgeline's alternate, Xander Palm, and their coaches, Brittany Bergman and Suzanne Smith. Up first is the toss-up round. We provided teams with rules, and there's a copy for those watching at home online at ksps.org. In a nutshell, I'll ask a toss-up question to all players. Only after I finish can a student buzz in with an answer. The right answer means the winning team gets a bonus question. You are encouraged to collaborate with your teammates only on the bonus questions. Teams, are you ready? Buzzers in hand? Let's go. How many amendments are there in the Bill of Rights?
10.
That is correct. Why does the U.S. Constitution have the Bill of Rights?
To protect the rights of the people?
That is correct. What year did the U.S. Constitution take effect? Paige.
1789.
That is correct. And here is your bonus. Where can we view the original U.S. Constitution?
The National Archives.
That is correct. Back to your toss-up. Which amendment to the Constitution limited the number of terms in which a president may serve? Jackson.
22nd.
That is correct. And here's your bonus. What year did the 22nd Amendment become part of the Constitution? (1951). Your next toss-up is a video question.
Hi, I'm Patty Murray. I represent the entire state of Washington in the U.S. Senate. Here is your question. Name, in order, the first 4 offices in the presidential line of succession.
Paige.
Vice President, Speaker of the House, President pro tempore of the Senate, and Secretary of State.
That is correct. And here's your bonus.
After serving in the U.S. Senate for the past 30 years, my colleagues elected me to the important leadership position of President pro tem of the Senate. True or false, I am the first woman to serve in this role.
False.
That is true. And here's your toss-up. What are the 3 types of powers that the Constitution delegates to national government? Lucas.
Printing money, declaring war, and interstate commerce.
That is incorrect. CV? Expressed powers, implied powers, inherent powers. Here's your toss-up. Which of the 3 types of delegated powers, expressed powers, implied powers, or inherent powers, is the result of the federal government being a sovereign state? Parker?
Express powers?
That is incorrect. Lucy?
Inherent powers.
That is correct. And here's the bonus. What is the name given to powers that the Constitution does not grant to the federal government and does not deny the states?
Implied powers.
That is incorrect. Reserved powers. Okay, and here is another guest to present the next question.
Hi, I'm Joe Bruce, a retired educator
and NASA Solar System Ambassador volunteer for Eastern Washington and Northern Idaho. Here's your question. What formal agreements, in addition to the Constitution, form the supreme law of the land in the United States?
Parker?
Treaties?
That is correct. And here's your bonus.
Recent presidents have relied more heavily on executive agreements than formal treaties in their dealing with foreign governments. Name one difference between a treaty and an executive agreement.
An executive agreement doesn't need to be ratified by Congress.
That is correct. And here's the next toss-up. How many executive departments form the main cabinet of our federal executive branch? Paige.
15.
That is correct. And here is your bonus. Name 5 of the 15 executive departments that form the main cabinet of our federal executive branch.
Interior, Secretary of State, Treasury.
Attorney General. Interior.
Okay, Interior, State, Defense,
Justice.
Justice, and Health and Human Services.
And here's the full screen. And you are correct. Here's your toss-up. What does the Selective Service System do? Paige.
Manages the draft.
That is correct. And here's your bonus. When must all men in the United States register for the Selective Service?
When they turn 18?
That is correct. What term means the authority of the court to hear a case? Paige?
Jurisdiction.
Correct. And here's your bonus. Original jurisdiction resides with the court in which a case is first heard. In the federal judiciary, which courts have only original jurisdiction?
District courts.
That is correct. Here's your toss-up. What do we call the right of people to join together to promote political, economic, social, and professional causes? JC.
The right to assemble.
That is correct. And here's your bonus. What protection did the Supreme Court give to associations in the 1958 case of NAACP versus Alabama? It allowed associations to protect membership lists and privacy of its members. And that is the end of the round. Well done, y'all. So after round 1, Central Valley 30, Ridgeline 130, and we will be back in a moment to get to know the players and play the head-to-head round. Now we'd like to take a moment to get to know our players and their schools a little better. We've asked each school to produce a video for Civics Bowl, and here's Ridgeline's.
We are Ridgeline High School here in Liberty Lake, Washington, home of the Falcons.
Here at Ridgeline, we help every student grow big, belong, inspire, and grow.
Our Falcons soar high, achieving excellence across academics, arts, and athletics. These trophies aren't just medal and ribbon, they're a testament to our relentless spirit and dedication.
Here at Ridgeline, it's not just about the academics or the athletics. It's about the community we build, the friendships we make, and the leaders that we become.
Talents up, kick off!
Nice job, Team Ridgeline. And please introduce yourselves and tell us a couple of things about yourself, your class year, and your favorite hobby.
I'm a senior, and my favorite hobby is playing basketball.
Yeah, I'm a senior as well, and I'm a band kid, so any music making kind of stuff.
I'm a junior and mountain biking.
I'm a senior and skiing.
Thank you very much. And now here's an inside peek at Central Valley.
We are CV, couldn't be prouder.
We cheer this at every single CV game, win or lose. But what does that mean?
We are proud of our increased diversity, and as our community grows, CV becomes more diverse in every way.
Whether it be Unified Sports, Pacific Islanders Club, GSA, or Diversity Club, we are finding ways to celebrate how our differences make CV better.
We are proud of the impact we make on our community outside of the classroom.
A year-long focus for our school is raising money to stop food insecurities.
In the past 10 years, CV has raised over $100,000 and donated over 100,000 pounds of food.
At CV, we have created a clothing and supply closet for our students who need their basic needs met.
We take care of each other.
We are proud of our resilience in the face of adversity. Since 2020, all schools have faced challenges to success. CV has fought these with grace and determination.
We are CV Nation. We are proud of our alumni community. Once a bear, always a bear.
We are proud that bears support bears. Whether it's shared leadership and responsibility or providing recognition for all. Bears are proud of how we take care of and support each other.
And we are proud of the spirit we bring to all things as we cheer.
We are CV, couldn't be prouder. If you can't hear us, we'll yell louder.
Well done, Team Central Valley. And players, same question to you. What's your class year and what are your hobbies when you're not busy doing homework? JC?
My name is JC. I am a senior and my favorite hobby is drawing.
I'm a senior and I love hiking.
I'm a senior this year and I'm a big fan of travel.
I'm also a senior and I love to play tennis.
Thank you very much. Thank you both teams and thank you for being here. We're going to get back to the match with the head-to-head round coming up next. It's time for the head-to-head round. Again, we've got the rules online so you can follow along, but here's a quick look at them. You'll still need to wait until I finish asking the question before you buzz in. Each right answer is worth 10 points, and players cannot work together to find the answer. Are you ready? Let's go. Name one place that is not one of the 50 states where a child born is a United States citizen.
Puerto Rico.
That is correct. Name two legal responsibilities that undocumented immigrants in the United States have.
Follow the laws and receive documentation when possible.
That is incorrect. Pay taxes, obey the law, and register for military service. Next. Most states require that you are a resident of that state for a short period of time, usually 30 days, before you can register to vote. Name one reason states impose this requirement.
To stop illegal immigrants from voting.
That is incorrect. To prevent voter fraud, allow new voters time to familiarize. What is the term for those who are considered unqualified to vote because they only plan to reside in a state for a short time?
Temporary residence.
That is incorrect. Next. Name one example of someone who a state might consider transient. A person traveling for work, armed service member, college student. Next. In recent years, which state holds the first presidential primary each presidential election year?
New Hampshire.
That is correct. Which state holds the first presidential caucuses each presidential election year?
Iowa.
That is correct. In most states, the presidential candidate who receives the most popular votes wins all of the electoral votes for that state. Which two states are the exception?
North Dakota and Maine.
That is incorrect. Who is the oldest U.S. president to be elected?
Joe Biden.
Correct. Who is the youngest U.S. president to be elected?
John F. Kennedy.
Correct. What months or annual time frame is the Supreme Court in session? Court is in session for 9 months, October to early May. Next. What was the purpose of the Smith Act in 1940?
To protect journalists' rights.
This is incorrect. It made it a crime to advocate the violent overthrow of the U.S. government. And here's your last one. Which two branches of government did not exist under the Articles of Confederation and were later created by the U.S. Constitution?
Judicial branch and executive branch.
That is correct. Thank you very much, teams. Okay, and that round is over. And here's how the score at the end of round 2 stands. Now don't go anywhere. Up next, these students will face off in the category round. Everything from inside the White House to who's who in Washington.
Here's important news for high school seniors. We all know the legal age to vote is 18. But in Washington state, 17-year-olds can vote in the August primary as long as they'll turn 18 before the November general election. High school seniors, that means if you're 18 or will turn 18 before the November election, it's time to register to vote. Only registered voters receive a ballot. To learn more, visit votewa.gov.
In just a few minutes, we'll have a chance for viewers to answer a civics question or some sweet KSPS bling. But before that, it's time for the category round. In this round, teams will answer questions from the following categories: Identify a Democracy, Declaration of Independence, Bicameral Congress, Inside the White House, and Who's Who in Washington. Teams will alternate choosing a category, but you can't jump ahead from a 10-point question to one of higher value. And this time, points will be deducted for wrong answers. Again, these rules are online, and the student teams received them last fall. They can pass on a question, and that's a way to make sure you don't lose points, and you can toss the question to the other team. They have to answer, but a team can only pass 3 times. Okay, teams, let's go. We'll start with CV.
Bicameral Congress for 10.
Bicameral Congress for 10. Before the Bicameral Congress was created, which state wanted to distribute the seats in Congress in proportion to the population of each state?
Virginia.
That is correct. Ridgeline.
Declaration for 10.
Declaration of Independence. About a year after the revolution began, the Continental Congress named a committee of 5 to write a proclamation of independence. Name 3 of these men.
Thomas Jefferson, James Madison and John Adams.
That is incorrect. And the answer to that one, by the way, was Jefferson, Franklin, Adams, Sherman, and Livingston.
Bicameral Congress.
For 15, before the Bicameral Congress was created, which state wanted an equal voice for all states?
New Jersey.
That is correct. Ridgeline.
Who's who in Washington?
Who's who in Washington? The U.S. Secretary of State is the principal foreign policy advisor to the president. What are the principal duties of the Secretary of State of Washington?
Maintain relations with other states.
We're going to decline.
You're going to decline? All right. Supervising state and local elections and certifying the results, registering corporations and other business and nonprofit entities, supervisor of state archives.
Bicameral Congress.
Bicameral Congress for 20. What is the word used to refer to legislatures that have just one house?
Unicameral.
That is correct. Ridgeline.
Let's do declaration for 15.
Declaration for 15 it is. Here's SWX and KHQ Sports Director Dennis Patchen with a question.
Here's your question. Who is considered the main author of the Declaration of Independence?
Who knows? Thomas Jefferson.
That is correct.
Bicameral Congress.
Bicameral Congress for 25. Which U.S. state has a unicameral legislature today?
Toss.
Ridgeline.
I feel like it's like New Hampshire, Iowa, or something. New Hampshire.
Nebraska.
We're going to do bicameral for 30.
Bicameral to lock out the category. Who was the first woman Speaker of the House of Representatives?
Nancy Pelosi.
That is correct. CV?
Identify a democracy.
Identify a democracy. Different forms of government have different characteristics. In this category, I will read a characteristic. Tell me if it best describes a democracy or a dictatorship. Political and personal freedom.
Democracy.
That is correct. Ridgeline.
We're going to identify a democracy for 15.
For 15, does this characteristic best describe a democracy or a dictatorship? State control of the media.
Dictatorship.
That is correct.
Identify democracy.
For 20, a characteristic of democracy or dictatorship, extensive corruption of public officials.
Dictatorship.
Correct.
Democracy for 25.
A characteristic of democracy or a dictatorship, governmental transparency.
Democracy.
CV.
30. Identify a democracy.
Does this characteristic best describe a democracy or a dictatorship, the ability of citizens to change the government?
Democracy.
That is correct.
Inside the White House for 10.
Inside the White House for 10. What officer directs all operations of the Executive Office of the President?
Chief of Staff. The White House Chief of Staff.
That is correct.
Declaration of Independence.
Declaration of Independence for 20, and this is our last question. Here's Dennis Patchen.
Thomas Jefferson was influenced by political thinker John Locke. What two key ideas shaped Jefferson's thinking?
Popular sovereignty and natural law.
That is incorrect. Natural rights and social contract theory. All right, teams, we're going to get the next round set in just a few minutes, and we look forward to the last of our show today, the lightning round. See you soon.
Play along with your favorite high school team. Here's our first question of the week. In 1787, the framers of the United States Constitution established Article 1, detailing the structure and powers of Congress. Which of these four participants believed U.S. senators should be elected to lifetime terms to avoid political pressure? A. James Madison. B. Edmund Randolph. C. Alexander Hamilton. D. Charles Cotesworth Pinckney. Do you know the answer? Scan this QR code or head to ksps.org/Civics Bowl to submit your answer. You'll be entered in a drawing to win a prize. The deadline to enter is Monday at noon. We'll notify the winner and give the right answer next week on Civics Bowl.
We're just one round away from learning who will be the first to advance in the Civics Bowl tournament this season. In the lightning round, we'll put 90 seconds on the clock. The idea is to answer as many of these 20-point questions as you can in that time. No conferring, and get ready to go. Let's get a check on the score. Central Valley 145, Ridgeline 220. Teams, are you ready? Let's go. Who said judicial decrees may not change the heart, but they can restrain the heartless? Martin Luther King Jr. What year were Native Americans granted birthright citizenship? Jackson.
1924.
That is correct. Women did not have the political right to vote when the U.S. Constitution was ratified. What year did this change? Jackson.
1919.
Incorrect. 1920. What is the term for voters who have no political affiliation? Parker.
Independent.
That is correct. What is the term for an organization of workers who share the same type of job or who work in the same industry? Paige.
Unions.
That is correct. What is the term used to describe the direct approach of interest groups to try to influence policy? Parker.
Lobbying.
That is correct. Are members of Congress allowed to receive gifts from lobbyists or their clients? Shashan.
No.
You are correct. Look at the photo on the screen. Which political party is associated with each animal shown?
Republicans are elephants and Democrats are the donkey.
That is correct. Which U.S. president formed the Bull Moose Progressive Party?
Theodore Roosevelt.
That is correct. What is the role of state legislatures? Lucy.
To create legislation for each respective state.
That is correct. True or false? Unlike the U.S. Congress, state legislatures are not restricted by their state constitutions.
No. False.
It was true, and we are done. Great job, teams. And taking a look at the final score now, Ridgeline 320, CV 165, and that means Ridgeline will advance to play the community school. Congratulations to all the teams. Congratulations to the coaches, the families, and everyone else for taking part. And we hope you'll join us next week when Liberty faces off against University to see who moves closer to bringing home the trophy. Good night, everyone. See you next week.
The Civics Bowl is made possible by Eastern Washington University, the Avista Foundation, the League of Women Voters of the Spokane area and of Washington, and by viewers like you. If you are a regional school interested in taking part in Civics Bowl next year, we want to know. Go to ksps.org/civicsbowl to fill out our online contact form.